Welcome to the video podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with our Hillsborough district-wide bilingual counselor, Vivian Oliva. Vivian Oliva is a long-term known advocate for Latino students, and I believe would be a wonderful person to learn from about how we parents can help our students achieve an education.
Hello,
Vivian,
how are you?
Wonderful to have you here. I'm doing
Wonderful
great.
to be here, Carlos.
Thank you for coming. Now, you are very close to my heart because I work for the Counselor Education Program,
Right,
and I
right.
have counselors in high esteem.
Yeah.
But I know that many parents not always really understand
Yes.
what a school counselor does. So please educate us. How can we understand?
Well, I'll try, because I can only speak from my own personal experience and what I see a counselor as being there for. Counselor is there to give academic guidance primarily. That is really one of the key things, especially in the secondary level. In the elementary level, the counselor deals more from a social, personal avenue and has those kinds of inputs with both the children and the family. Secondary guidance, unfortunately, I say, has to focus on the academics because we must get students ready to enter into universities, to continue beyond high school. It's the idea of a K-20 concept, moving from kindergarten through a professional degree.
I see.
And to do that with the amount of competition that exists, all of our students need to be extremely well prepared. And when it comes to our Latino students who may have, who do have another language being their primary language that is not English,
Yes.
then we're dealing on two fronts. We're dealing on getting them prepared in academic English as well as in academics generally to enter college. So I see that when I'm working with parents in bringing that to the fore, to explain that to them, because what happens is when our parents come from other Spanish-speaking countries and not having to deal with this, they're faced with not only the difference in language, culture, social nuance, they are faced with an entirely different approach in education. Their education systems are extremely different from ours. They're very, for the most part, they are not hands-on. You know, here in the United States, we have a saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And what that means is, unless you let people know that what you want and what you're interested in getting, they sort of move on without you. And our Latino families come from an educational perspective of, I give you my child, and you will do everything that you feel he deserves. So it's a very different thing. Also, in other countries, there's no choice. When you get into a curriculum, when you're in a school, you go through and everybody takes the same classes. Here, academic choice is given to students beginning in middle school, in the 7th and 8th grade, where if they have the abilities, they can take high school courses in 7th and 8th grade, such as science, foreign language, and mathematics. So already the choice element is there, and when they get into high school, those choices multiply.
I've heard that they can even take college level courses.
Yes. In high school, and that's why I say the choices multiply, when they get into high school, if the ability is there and they've laid the groundwork in middle school, those students are encouraged to take honors levels curriculums, to take advanced placement courses, and to take dual enrollment courses at a community college or university at the same time. I have had students who by the time they finished high school also had completed an AA degree in a community college. They were that advanced. So when you're dealing in that kind of an environment, and you're coming from another country, a Spanish-speaking country, and you don't understand the rules of the game, as it were, you're at a disadvantage. So it's very important that parents be made aware of those kinds of things. And that's why I do a program called Pasos al Futuro, which is Steps to Your Future. And in that program, it is for parents and students. I do that in the fall of every year, where I have parents come in, and during that time, I go over such things as, what's the difference between graduating from high school with the courses you need and taking the courses you need to be admitted into college? They're two different curriculums because of the level and the difficulty and the rigor of those curriculums. What tests should I take? Because parents say, well, if they pass FCAT, which is the Florida test for graduation, if they pass FCAT, doesn't that get them into college? No, because FCAT has nothing to do with college entry. They need to know about the Scholastic Aptitude Test, SAT, or the ACT, the American College Test, or the CPT, the College Placement Test. These are a different set of tests, and they can begin to take them as early as 9th and 10th grade, and they should take them more than once. Well, what's the difference? They're also not aware of the differences between honors, AP, those types of things. If you have the ability, ask to be placed in more rigorous classes. So I encourage parents who know that their children are either not being challenged or are in classes that are causing them not to give their full attention, not because they're not able to do it, but because they're bored, to pursue the counselor to have the child placed in a more rigorous program.
Now, what are the most typical issues that you think parents need to focus, besides the one that you have mentioned? What are the most specific issues that they should focus on in order to take advantage of the support that a school counselor can provide?
Okay. You register your child. The first person you should be speaking to is a counselor.
I see.
You should attempt to set up a program with that counselor. You should go in every time there is a parent conference day. Those are extremely important. And we have 2 of those a year in the school system that are the ones that are placed there. However, there are parents who come to see the counselor on regular intervals. The key is call, make an appointment to see your child's counselor. Be very direct as to what you want to cover in that session. In our school system, Carlos, counselors' load runs between 5 and 550 students per counselor in the high school.
Which is a large number.
We only have 100 and, I think, 96 student days. So, okay, so when you're coming to see a counselor, time is of the essence.
Right.
So the parent, what I would recommend is that the parent target what it is they want to discuss with the counselor. If it is classroom behavior due to a certain teacher, or a class, for example, that this child is not succeeding in, be very direct. If you're going to need to speak to the teacher, then you need to let the counselor know that before you arrive, because the counselor will tell you, well, this teacher has an off period at such and such a time, and then we can meet together with them. But without doing that ahead of time, just walking in and saying, I need to talk to my child's counselor, I need to speak to his English teacher, it's wasted time. And then you can't see all of the people you want, or possibly any of the people you want. So people end up leaving very disappointed, and in many cases very angry, where a lot of that could have been taken care of by setting an appointment ahead of time. Those are the things that all of our parents are encouraged to do. Now, when you're looking at Latino parents, if they are not comfortable in English, they need to also say, I will need someone in that meeting to interpret for me.
And that's something they can ask for.
And they can ask for it because in all of our schools, we have ELL professionals, which is English Language Learner professionals, who are Spanish speakers or Vietnamese speakers, but we're speaking about Latinos, so Spanish speakers who can interpret for the parent when meeting with the counselor. If there isn't anyone, then they need to definitely let the counselor know so that if a person can be sent to that school at that time to be there for the parent, they can be there for the parent.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anything else that parents can think of, you know, when thinking about a school counselor professional?
Okay, the school counselor also can assist the parent in the areas of, let's say you're having a problem with a child's attendance. Mm-hmm. I say this because I did work a lot with that, and where the counselor might be able to find out, you know, or the parent has been called, my child is not attending, then maybe they can seek help from the counselor so that they can meet with the student, the counselor, and the parent to see what is the problem. Generally speaking, children do not stop going to a class for just no reason. There is usually an outside reason that they are not going to class. And until you know what that is, then trying to do something becomes very, very difficult. The other area where, and I'm thinking particularly in secondary because this is where we see a lot of the acting out behaviors in the secondary, and that is dealing from the point of the area of discipline, when students get into all sorts of different disciplinary situations. Mm-hmm. I believe that the counselor should be brought in because as soon as the discipline situation is handled, that assistant principal is going to say, you really should see their counselor. Well, the counselor needs to be brought in from the beginning. So it's something that once a parent is made aware that there is a problem, they should contact the counselor and request that the counselor be brought in. That's one of the things that can happen.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Truly appreciate the advice.
I hope I covered.
Yeah, and I think the parents now also know about your Steps to the Future program, and
Yes.
they can call the school counselor and
Yes.
certainly make an appointment to discuss any issues related to their children, but more importantly, discuss any ways in which they can even better up their education.
Mm-hmm. Just as a final note, if they find that they are having any kind of problem with the school, I'm a firm believer of following the steps. And I always tell parents, my question when they call me is, have you spoken with the counselor? Yes, and I'm not satisfied. Have you made an appointment with the assistant principal? Yes, and I'm not satisfied. Have you seen the principal? Yes, and he really didn't answer my question. At that point, once I know they have covered all site-based options, I can step in and function as an advocate for that student.